So, welcome, guys, to today's Business Spotlight. Today, we have the pleasure of Declan Murphy from Allsorter, I beg your pardon, allsorter.com. Declan, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Tom. Great to be here.
Fantastic. So, tell our listeners, what do you do and how long have you been doing it?
Okay, so I suppose we started a journey in 2018 where we got some grants from Science Foundation Ireland, from Horizon 2020. And through bootstrapping and redundancy payment, I decided that I would make a job that's quite difficult, simple using AI. Okay, so essentially, if you apply for a job today, your resume goes into an electronic mailbox. Okay, it's called an applicant tracking system. However, the technology utilized by those mailboxes is really, really old. And with a CV, it's very unstructured, the data. So what we do is we take AI, we put structure on the unstructured data so that A, it looks at a homogenized, tailored template, and B, the machines that ingest that data understand it. So instead of getting, for instance, half of the data to do with your work experience and your skills, we propagate the information to get 100% coverage in the back of these electronic systems. So I'll give you an example in pure simple terms. It's a little bit like you put through from the postman into your letterbox a letter, and the dog eats, right? Yeah. So this is what happens to the 15 billion resumes that are transacted right across the globe every year, right? So it is an absolutely amazing statistic to say that half of the data is being lost. So Allsorter was set up to basically do this particular job, and we were pioneering in it. It's very niche, and it is possibly the most unstructured data set under the sun, right? So we really, had to eat the elephant in bite-sized chunks. However, we now have over 350 customers, nearly 3,000 daily users, and I'm really proud to say we have the top 3 staffing companies in the world, that's Randstad, Declan, and Manpower, right across the globe using Allsorter. So they represent 15% of the marketplace in which we service. So it's a great testament to the team, the scientists, and everybody involved in Allsorter to get us to this level.
So interesting. So your clients are the recruiting companies?
Yes. Right. So basically, recruiting companies take your resume, yes. They take it apart, they put it back together again, they edit it, they put their brand, font, summary, etc. on it, so it's a homogenized document, right. And then they send it to these companies that basically ingest it into their own applicant tracking systems. So we are basically saving them. It typically takes 20 minutes to take everything apart and put it back together again. Okay. To make it, somewhere machine readable. Allsorter, it takes less than 2 minutes to do that. But we're also translating the data into machine readable data that a human being cannot do, even if they work in staffing agencies.
So this ultimately makes the journey for the recruiter easier, and also it enables a better understanding of the candidate's talents or
exactly
positive points. Yes,
exactly, because with resume transmission, 99% of all of those documents, those CVs belong to individuals, end up at the back of an applicant tracking system. So maybe when they're trying to find someone, for instance, a project manager with 4 years experience that can speak French, they put in these search criteria into their applicant tracking system. But if the data isn't properly ingested in the first place, then we won't be able to be found. So this is what we are solving.
Okay, that sounds like an excellent proposition. So tell me, you've been on a journey since 2018. I presume it hasn't all been a straight line upwards, but you've grown your business commendably, which is fantastic. What have you found has been the biggest learning that you have got since you went into this business on your own?
Learning is, I used to have a senior position in a corporate, so you would have a team of people to do things with. Obviously that's all gone, so you roll up the sleeves, you've got to do everything from, cleaning the office on the end of a Friday, to, basically the very simplest tasks. That's fine. Equally, you would have had a network of people that could support you. You're out your own, you don't really have that. And thirdly, cash management is absolutely king, right? So thankfully, I'm a trained chartered accountant, I used to work as an FD, but, even with your own projects, everything takes twice as long and potentially, more costly than you thought it would be. So cash management key, and specifically now even more relevant in a straitened environment that we see ourselves with, venture capital funding being far less, out there as it used to be. So you've got to be really, really careful in terms of your spend, and also time management would be probably the last one. It's like, where do you spend your time today? Am I going to get ROI for my time? So I need to, typically I'm pretty good about that. I put a list together and very simple, assumptions about how the day is going to run. I don't spend more than 30 minutes on meetings, and I generate an action, plan after each meeting. So then to give you an example, it's like today we've got to do A, B, C, D, and E, and at the end of the day, I have to double check and make sure we did it. And so making use of your time. Last year, for instance, I spent a lot of time fundraising, probably not as much time selling as I should have. But they're both sales, right? There's the macro sale and then there's the actual individual sale. So I need to strike a balance.
Yeah.
So with that, say planning of your time should be a balance for different, different things like fundraising, actual selling, managing staff, and obviously looking after your own health, which is very, very important as well, because we can get completely consumed. Give an example, we've got a global operation, so I wake up in the morning and Australia is like end of day. So I'm catching up on all of the various alerts that happen from my staff in Australia, customer interviews, different things that go on, watching the clock in terms of what revenue we brought in overnight, and then running through the day in Europe, and then in the evening time, I've got various, interviews and different things that go on with the US market right to the West Coast. So it is a long day, and you've got to manage your time accordingly. And I try to do as much of that as I can, but I'm not as good as I should be. That's what that.
That's interesting. So you've got a far-flung a team around the world, your different offices. How many offices are you running currently?
We'll just have 3, opening 4 in the next 6 weeks. Wow. In the US.
And that would lead me to my next question then. What qualities then would you look for in your employees?
Yes, very, very good question, right? And, we've all made mistakes when hiring. They say, some people peak at the interview, and after that, it's different, right? You need people who are humble, I believe. You need people that are hungry for success. You need people that basically are doers as opposed to thinkers, specifically in the fast-paced environment in which startups run. I need people to be very customer focused, customer friendly, because everybody in my organization would spend time in front of a customer, and even the developers at any point in time. So I do believe that the hunger element is like, if you define success, what is success for this business? And how do you define success, and what do you feel that the business should generate for you to see you're successful in your job? Very important one, sometimes misguided. But I've seen people, we've had people from the very start that worked when we didn't really have a proper product. It wasn't product market fit. It was really, out there with a concept. And we've had customers stay with us from day one, even though we just had like a conceptual product. But we've had people really, give an example about it, like people, when the pandemic hit, we had staff that we couldn't pay for a number of months until we were waiting on government assistance, etc. And nobody batted anything. And if they did, they voted with their feet, etc. Right? So we have been incredibly lucky to the team. And I can't say that's down to me in particular, but I do look for those qualities when I do hire people to work in the company.
It's so important to kind of build a very strong culture, obviously for retaining staff as well as attracting them. But I think culture has become a really important word now, an important factor of, for the recruitment of people and building that great team. So tell me, in your world, in this industry of AI and technology, etc., where do you see the future of this going in your industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, it's very much a hype cycle at the moment, right? So everybody's like, whoa, But remember, it's helping you to complete a task. And it will help so many other industry verticals, not just one servicing. But it's never going to be able to replace the human being. Okay, so people should not be afraid. I think people should be certainly plugging into what AI can do for them. And it's a little bit like, I'm sure people of a certain vintage would see when the ATM machine came out. First of all, people said it's going to be the death knell to the banking industry, high street banking in particular, but it certainly wasn't, because it's spawned all sorts of new banking products. But those banking products involve the human to think a lot more, and it was work with customers on a one-to-one basis, and get away from the manual teller type of activity. It's the same thing here, right? So it's like various things that are standard. For instance, like a simple contract, you can ask, AI to generate it if you give it the correct prompts. However, you still need a lawyer to ensure that it's actually watertight. Because the thing with AI is it's not consistent. It will give you certain different answers depending on the day of the week, etc. So where it's going to replace a lot of administrative type of tasks, certainly, but it will not replace humans, because humans will upskill to manage, the prompting of AI, and then be able to do lots of other things. So for me, I think it's going to be something to be embraced, and nobody likes admin anyway, right? So it's going to say, look, I'm taking the admin away from your job, and let you basically explore far more kind of a customer friendly outcome type of activity. So not fearful of it. It's been fantastic for our business. Our business is up 30% this quarter. Everybody is saying, we need to tick the AI box. And we certainly are doing that.
So certainly embrace technology. Stephen Bartlett says, fall into it, but embracing technology and leveraging it. Loads of other jobs will emanate from these new technologies, etc. It's just different roles, but it still means people will have to participate in doing something of it. So listen, fantastic so far. Last question I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to our budding entrepreneurs who may be watching this? What advice would you give to an 18-year-old you?
Okay, great question. I would say, and I've said this because I have a 20-year-old son who is looking at his father and saying, oh, this is great. I say you have to have a bedrock of experience and education to leverage. You should do that. So you should complete your college course and enjoy the few years of reckless abandon you may have as a young person. I think you could certainly plug into AI as much as possible, because it is certainly kind of taking so much shape. I would say that if you have an ambition to become an entrepreneur, you must realise how difficult it is. Every day is a school day, right? But it's very much a roller coaster. So there's not a day goes by when I go park a car outside my office and thank, myself, thank that decision that I made to work for myself, because what they say, you never work a day in your life. When you work on your own, if you like, but at the same time, you need to be ultra focused, because you're going to get absolutely beaten up by all the different things that happen. And you need to be resilient so you can bounce back again. And I have to say, thankfully, I have been able to bounce back several times with lots of different setbacks. And it makes you stronger, so if you are single-minded, resolute, that you want to do this, everybody will say no, you shouldn't, you should do this, you should do that. If you really want to do it, you need to do it. And I would suggest that, if it doesn't work out, you will have learned so much out of that experience that you can take it into the next one. So
I think that's great advice for Nation Road, and certainly for myself when I was back then, because I think we're all afraid of failure, and yet we should be told when we're younger, taught when we're younger, guys, failure is good. If you're not failing, you're not trying, but the failure is good because you learn so much, and having a vision for where you want to be is so important. Listen, Declan, I could talk to you all day. You're very, very passionate about what you do. I love the business you're in, and I wish you every success in the future with it. Thank you so much for taking part in this episode today.
thank you very much, Tom. It was a pleasure. All the
Talk to you
best.
soon.